is good to be here and be healthy. Imagine both of those things together. Love worshiping with you, spending some time celebrating the goodness of God and watching God work. And so welcome, moms, everyone in person, those of you online. It is good to be together. We only have a few weeks left in our series, The Church of Transformed Lives. Maybe you're like, whoa, yay, finally we're ready to move on. Or maybe you're like, wow, this has been great. But I hope that this journey has been one that has encouraged you and challenged you. That God is clearly speaking and you are stretched in what He has for you. That this has helped you see God greater and draw closer. That you have known and seen His transforming power in your life. And for the final weeks of this series, we're going to be wrestling with, what does God have for us next? How to position our lives to see Him even more. And you know what? That starts with a passion to pray. I don't mean just an obligation to pray. I mean a passion, a dependence, a desire to say, God, we want to know you and talk with you. If we want to see God show up, we got to seek God. And that is a passion to pray. Because when a church prays, lives change. When a church prays, God goes, yes, I want to be a part of where you are depending on me showing up and lives changed. And we said this last year, but prayer is more about a who than a do. And I don't want you to miss that. We're not going to unpack the theology of prayer so much today, but don't miss that prayer is more about a who. It's a conversation. It's a relationship than what we do and how we sound. Because it's not about some polished words. It is this heart to pursue and know God more. That He has already spoken to us and invites us, the King of the universe, the Creator of all, invites you and I into a deep and personal conversation with Him. And we know that prayer develops us this growing intimacy, trust, and treasure. How does prayer really develop us? It's this intimacy. We know Him deeper, trust Him greater, and He becomes an even better treasure. And yet, let's just be honest for a moment. Prayer can be a thing. Prayer can be an add-on, a supposed to, at least in my life, right? I can just kind of go through the motions. Supposed to pray at this meeting, supposed to pray at this meal, supposed to pray at the time of bed. Words said, without expecting much to happen, or honestly, drawing closer to God. And so today, what if you and I wrestle with some key prayers that will connect us to God? That we gather in groups to pour some gas on our prayers, and we get into His Word to deepen our prayers, and we let God ignite a thirst in our soul through prayer. Ephesians chapter 1, we looked at it several weeks ago, says it this way: I pray that the God of our Lord Jesus Christ, the who? He is glorious. I hope you know Him that way, personally, powerfully, that He's not just some big distant entity in the sky, but that He is glorious and Father, that He would give you the spirit of wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of Him. I pray that the eyes of your heart may be what? Enlightened, that you can see Him and see what He's doing. That's what really moves us towards prayer, when we see Him and we see what He's doing and want more of Him and for Him to work even more, so that you may know what is the hope of His calling, what is the wealth of His glorious inheritance in the saints, and what is the immeasurable what? Greatness of His power towards us who believe, according to the mighty working of His strength. Now, I think that's prayer, guys. But I think we can miss that type of prayer in our lives. And so I want to share an idea. And honestly, I'm still working through this. I'm still unpacking this. This isn't a word I've typically used when describing prayer, but in many ways it is changing me and challenging me. I call it the beauty of prayer. The beauty of prayer. And I don't mean the words. I don't mean like our prayers should have a certain font, or that we should emphasize it with like King Jameseth language. I don't mean that our prayers should have a stained glass background. They're not designed so that others around us shout our name. Wow, that was a really incredible prayer, Dan. But there is something moving, incredible and beautiful in prayer because of who God is. That we're talking to him. That he wants to have this relationship with us and conversation with us. That the glorious God calls us to come and be with him. To share our hearts, our hurts, and our dreams. I mean, moms, you might feel like the miles apart or the mountain of laundry. Moms, you might feel like the overwhelmed stress case. I don't know, I'm going to make it to next week, let alone next year. And yet God bids us to come and share our heart, our hurts, and our dreams with him so that we pause long enough to see his face, to know his touch, going past this routine and rote we can often develop in our prayer. Because sometimes I think we would honestly, let's just, again, we're a church that does real life of following Jesus, and I think sometimes we would rather pray, help me have a nice day. I think that's the extent of our prayer, right? We're running late, the alarm clock didn't, the dog barfed, the things aren't going our way, and we're like, just, God, help me have a nice day. I don't want to be interrupted. I want it to go my way and go well. God, if you really love me, then give me a day with nice people, green lights, good food, well-behaved kids, and something entertaining to stream. We can settle for the safe routine, a good enough life, and my prayers can reflect that. So that's why I think one of the key prayers that transform our lives and deepen our intimacy with God is a prayer called Search Me. Search me. A prayer that deepens our love and strengthens our faith because we're saying, open my eyes. Help me see. God, may you be bigger in my prayers than me. David wanted this, and we see his prayer in Psalm 139. Search me, O God, and what? Know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Point out anything in me that offends you and lead me along the path of everlasting life. See, show me what you know about my heart, God. Now, just think about that for a moment. That's a crazy prayer, isn't it? God, would you just show me what you know about my heart? Because sometimes we can be deceived by our heart. Yes? And so we're actually bold enough to go to God and go, God, you matter so much. Would you show me what you know about my heart and I may not be seen? This is personal and this is powerful. Search me happens because you want him to show you and to show up in your life. It's this desire to talk to God intimately, vulnerably, where God is in the midst of it all. He's not just Sunday God. Okay, God, it's Sunday. Let's get together. Some good songs. Maybe I'll pray then. This is God. Would you show me every day how to pursue you in a greater way? But that means we've got to wrestle with the very simple truth of, am I listening? Am I listening? I think God wants to be in a conversation with us, and maybe we're just not listening because we're not sure we want to hear what he has to say. Because God will show you things that are not always comfortable, right? Can I just push into that just a moment? If it's been a while since God showed you and told you something uncomfortable, maybe you're missing out on the fullness that God has for you. It might be an attitude. It might be an issue. He will comfort you, but he will also convict you. David knew his heart could crave other things, that he could get distracted and overwhelmed. And we have these moments that our thoughts get stuck on repeat. And so he asked God to boldly redirect him from that. And I think we need those type of prayers. God, would you search me? I'm fixated on this. I'm frustrated by this. I'm pursuing this, and it's just not quite good for me. It's not what you would have for me. And so search me, show me, and help redirect me to what you have for me. David also prays in Psalm 139 this incredible prayer: reveal my fears. Can I tell you that fears grow best when they're not known, when they're stuck in the ground, where they can develop in the darkness? And so David boldly prays, would you reveal my fears? Because when God and I both acknowledge my fears, then we can get to work on releasing them, right? God already knows them. He's seen how they're hurting me and affecting me. But when I say, would you search me and reveal these to me? And he's like, hey, you've been fearing about money. Hey, you've been fearing for your kids. And it's like this moment where I got to get real. I've got to go, okay, God, yeah, you're right. And I got to do something about it. See, many of us, we are facing a lot of fears. Our culture thrives off of fear right now. It might be losing a job or security, the fear of being lonely, keeping our kids safe. That's one of my biggest fears. Finances, facing an illness or losing a loved one. It can be easy to be driven by fear instead of led by faith. And I don't want you to miss why this matters. I don't want you to miss why this type of prayer matters, because often what we fear most can reveal where we trust God least. You see what I'm saying? The things that's driving my fear can actually be an indicator where I'm not sure God's going to come through. The things that I fear most can show me where I'm trusting God least. And that's an opportunity for God to work in that. He may not fix it. He may not be this, poof, you did it my way, God, yay. But the dealing with it and trusting Him and taking it to Him develops us in incredible ways. And so that's why David asked, show me, make it clear, speak to my fear, God, so I can grow in trusting you. Again, for me, I fear failing. I'm kind of this high achiever. We'll talk about it next week. This high achiever, and I fear failing. I fear letting people down. I fear not being enough, as though I ever could be enough. I fear not meeting everyone's demands, and my thoughts start to get twisted up, and I get overloaded, and I become a stress case. Anyone else? It might not be your fear, but isn't this what fear starts to do? It starts to spin us up and then spin us out. And our stress, our desire to try and solve it on our own, starts making us unpleasant people to be around. I can be obsessed with what's not happening. My core wiring is I want to make a difference and have as many happy people as possible. And that is a mix for insanity, because you cannot make a difference and have everyone be happy about that. It's just not possible. And so I have to pray. Test me. God, show me. Because there is something unmistakable about you showing up and showing me that changes me. That's what prayer does. And so here's my challenge. Here's my challenge for you. What is God calling you to place into His hands? We all have something. Again, maybe it's finances, loneliness, an uncertain future, a relationship with our kids or our spouse. What is God calling you to place into His hands? This is one of the reasons why we got sticky notes on the wall. Our trust in God expressed. If you didn't have a chance to do these sticky notes, these are just our short prayers to God that we're watching Him all summer answer. And so there's cups there to take the pens and more sticky notes. If you haven't had a chance, put it up. But there's just another opportunity to watch God work with these sticky notes. And so not only does God want to answer the prayer of show me, but I think He wants to answer the next prayer of send me. God, send me. And I know if you're like me, you're like, to Hawaii? Out of the heat. Mountains, Gandalf, right? God, send me to a place that isn't humid and 90. Ugh. Send me to the front of the line. Send me all through green lights. Up the corporate ladder. You bet. God, send me. But what if the prayer was, send me where you think is best for me, God? That changes it, doesn't it? God, would you send me where you think is best for me. Might that not get just a little crazy, amazing, and life-changing? Because our honest reaction to send me can be like Jonah. Here I am. I ain't going, bro. Or maybe it's like Moses. Here I am. Send someone else. My brother's good. Like, is that not just throwing somebody on the bus? But what if God did such a work, we responded like Isaiah in Isaiah chapter 6, that I heard the Lord asking, and that's what we mean by send. What does God want? I heard the Lord asking, whom should I send as a messenger to this people? Who will go for us? And I said, send me. Why did Isaiah pray that? Because he saw God for who he is. He saw God for who God is. Send me says, I want to be a part of what God's doing. That's what send me says. God, my dreams are too small for myself. My faith in myself is a false idol. Would you send me to where and what you are doing? Because I want to be a part of that. Now hear me, that could be a different country. It could be getting on a plane. It could be going to Memphis. It could be going down to Bob Bryant this summer and hanging out with a bunch of crazy, wacky kids. But most likely it means going out your front door, wanting more. Going out your front door with intentionality to see and be a part of what God's doing. More of God and more people experiencing life in Jesus. Because send me is simply living in a rhythm. It is a response to God's presence and purpose. We see in Ephesians chapter 6 these words, Paul saying, pray also for me, that the message may be given to me when I what? There send me. I'm going to open my mouth, God, where you tell me to open it. I'm going to keep it shut when you tell me to keep it shut, so that you would make known with boldness the mystery of the gospel. For this, I am an ambassador in chains. Pray that I might be what? Bold enough to speak about it as I should. See, Paul's asking for prayer. Why? He needs it. He wants God's help for courage, for strength, for clarity. Have you ever needed God's help for courage, clarity, and strength? Have you ever not known what to say? And in those moments, we tend to shrink back. But Paul's saying, how about we just step forward and say, God, you're going to show up into that space so that we could show off Jesus clearly. I mean, often we think of Paul as like this big S on his chest, right? Super Paul. That's what Saul used to mean, right? Or he has this cool utility Bible belt. I am Bible man. But the reality is Paul's just like us. He does real. His prayer is that his circumstances could be used to draw him closer to God in a way that draws other people closer to God. His prayers are for more than himself. And if you noticed, that's even the case although he's in prison for his faith. His prayers are for more than himself, even though he is in prison for his faith. And honestly, I think that we can settle for prayers that focus on what we already have instead of more of him and what he has. Often our prayers kind of revolve around what we already have instead of what God wants to do next. And so here's the uncomfortable truth. Are you ready? You might want to pick your feet up because I'm going to step on them. This is the uncomfortable truth. Praying only self-focused prayers transform us into self-centered Christians. I did not say praying for yourself. I said praying only self-focused prayers transform us into self-centered Christians. What's in it for me? Instead of God, what can be? Because God-centered prayers will move our lives to care, to live sent, like we talk about all the time. So more could find life, have hope, find healing, and live with meaning. I love Paul's heart in 1 Corinthians 9. It says this, when I am, what? Oh, flip it over. When I am, next slide. You got to love AV. They're amazing. They're awesome. But the only time you ever notice them is when it didn't quite work. The verse says, when I am with those who are weak, I share in their weakness. I just want to remind you, it is a relationship that we are developing. For I want to bring the weak to Christ. Yes, I try to find common ground with everyone, doing everything I can to save some. I do everything to spread the good news and share in its blessing. See, essentially, Paul is telling us to be alert for the God opportunities. Every single one of us has God opportunities. Now, hear me very clearly. I didn't grow up going to church. But the very first church I was a part of said this: every time, and they probably shook their finger like this, every time you are at the barber and on an airplane and an elevator, you must share Jesus. That's why I'm bald. I don't ever want to go to the barber again. I'm not saying that. But I am saying, is our heart in love with God in a way that wants to see other people love God? And so we're alert for the opportunities that God's already preparing and makes available. In the relationships you and I are already invested in. Am I willing to care like that? My coworker, my neighbor, to be hope dealers and door openers instead of door closers. I don't want to overcomplicate this, because you and I, we all share about what we care about. I guarantee you did this week. Even if you don't have social media, you shared about what you care about. It might be the picture of your vacation. It might be some yummy food. You just went to one of the new restaurants in town and you were like, woohoo! Maybe it was some time with some good friends. You played cards, you played games, you had a great time. We share with others our adventure of what we did, because we want to invite them in. That's what we're talking about. We want to invite people in to our relationship with God. We want people to experience this with us. That's the prayer of send me, that I may share the God I know with another. And so I encourage you, just break out your phone and show a picture of God working. Tell the story like you do the movie of what God is doing, because you are called to be salt and light in an uncertain, confused, and dark world. So here's the deal. Tap someone next to you and say, you're salty. Look at someone with a little less hair and say, you're shiny. Because really, my friends, you are the best example of Jesus to another. You understand, we all have these things in common. We all have these things in common: difficulties, uncertainties, finances, fears, our families, our hopes, the goals in life, how we're handling the hurts, the offenses, and the suffering and the sickness. But here's the difference. You and I who follow Jesus, we can speak into those things with God-sized answers and with God-sized love to show off who we have found. Maybe that's who you want to write on your sticky note. Someone that you're praying to know Jesus and find hope. Last thought as we wrap up. If you would really like to know how to pray, look at how a child speaks to a father who loves them. If you want to know how to pray, just look at how a child talks to a parent, to a father, to a mother who loves them. The joy, the vulnerability, the want to go on the adventure with, the sharing and belief and faith. And that's why Paul says in chapter 3 this: for this reason I kneel before who? The Father. I pray that he may grant you, according to the riches of his glory, to be strengthened with power in your inner being through his Spirit. I pray that you, being rooted and firmly established in love, may be able to comprehend with all the saints what is the length, the width, the height, and the depth of God's love, and to know Christ's love that surpasses knowledge, so that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. Our bold prayers of beauty, intimacy, and send me. In other words, making God visible. CBC, I'm proud of you, and I love going on this adventure with you, the impact that so many of you have. I believe God wants to and will continue to answer the prayer of, we want more of you, and we want more to know you.